In studio with us to continue this conversation on what's in the in-trade now for the new chair of the African Union Commission and Kenya's standing in the region as we speak is history and international relations scholar, Professor Macharia Munene, joining us in studio. Many thanks for making time for us.
Thank you for having me on.
Right, so let's begin with CS Amina Mohamed's loss yesterday in Addis Ababa. What does this mean for Kenya's standing in the region, especially in the AU?
To start with, the election was very interesting to watch. CS Amina should be given credit for putting up a good fight. Yeah, I mean, you go 6 rounds. It's not a joke. So there's some commendation to be made. And it did appear as if she had the right support up to the 6th round, because that's why it went to the 6th round. And then some of the supposed supporters changed their mind.
And this support is actually very crucial.
The optimism was not misplaced. And Kenya has nothing to be ashamed about it. In fact, should be very proud. Put up a good show. And you have the CS going to that level. And if you listen to the new chair, Mohamed, some of the things he started saying sound very similar to what I would say. So in terms of future projection and the AU agenda, there's nothing to worry about.
Right.
And Kenya should not be worried. In fact, Kenya should be proud. It did that and put up a good show.
Yeah, just before you continue, you were mentioning the supporters that abandoned Kenya in the last minute.
Yes.
And these are supporters who are very close in the region, Burundi, Tanzania, Uganda. Is that likely to affect relations with Kenya, with these 3 countries?
Not very much. Of course, there is some sour feelings. And Kenya needs to re-examine a few things as to exactly why people who had promised to support change their mind. We do not, because they are the ones to explain. And I'm sure when they are sitting together having tea or whatever it is that they have, as presidents or ministers, they may explain to each other what happened. But it is disappointing that they change their mind in their own interest, whatever that is. And Kenya should take that in strides. It's the nature of international politics. Each country tries to put its best foot forward. And if for some reason they think Kenya was getting too ahead, and they maybe a little check, come down a little bit. And if they ended up comparing, say that in their mind, the Chadian president, Minister of Foreign Affairs, was more attractive than the Kenyan Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Right.
And weighing in a lot of consideration. It's not just one thing. But if they had supported the Kenyan minister for at least 4 rounds or 5 rounds, and then start having second thoughts in the 5th and 6th round, then we need to look deep. What is it that happened in the 5th and 6th round for them to come out and say, well, let's throw our hat on the other side. So there are a lot of things we do not know, because the presidents are the ones to explain why they change their position, because countries would not have changed if the presidents did not change their position.
Right.
So Museveni, Magufuli, Nkurunziza, Kagame
Need to explain a lot of things.
they need to explain something. Because, it is not normal.
And we expected that, West African regions, the countries were really sticking together.
Those they behaved properly because they kept to their word.
But what does that say then about the strength of ESC?
Well, ESC has a lot of problems. And questions come up as to whether they can rely on each other where it matters. And this is one of the places where it mattered. We know that the ESC has a lot of internal problems, funding issues, given that some states do not honor their obligations to pay the dues, the annual dues, and some don't even pay. So you end up with a funny situation where an East African organization has to depend on donors for running simple affairs. And we don't know whether the donors may have interfered in the process. In some places. And so, these are possibilities. We also know that there are some donors, they're called what, development partners, who may not be very happy with Kenya. And they might have gone into overdrive to get people persuaded. Maybe you supported Kenya this far, maybe it's time to look at the other way. So these are all possibilities? These are all possibilities. We don't know which one is which because we are yet to get the details of what it is that happened. But the presidents of those countries and the ministers of foreign affairs have a lot of explaining to do why they broke their word. And just a few minutes ago, we ran a report on the hits and misses of outgoing Chair Dlamini Zuma. And right now, incoming Chad's Musa Mahamat. What is in the in-tray for him now? The AU does need some structural reforms. So he needs to work very hard on that one to remove some of the obstacles along the way to implementation. Needs to work very hard to increase the financial base, which means persuading a lot of these member countries, particularly the ones that supported him, to pay up their dues. Many of them don't pay. And that's why AU then ends up being beholden to extra-continental forces that contribute money to run the affairs. So if you can find a way of increasing the financial base from within the continent as opposed from being from without, he will have made some good progress. He needs to work on something that Zuma may have tried but did not succeed. Promote the free movement of peoples and goods and services in Africa. It is ridiculous that if I want to go to Nigeria, you spend a week or two trying to get a visa. It's just ridiculous. South Africa, the same thing. And then you end up putting a lot of exorbitant visa fees on each other, so which essentially discourages interaction within Africa. So when it becomes easier for Africans to deal with the Europeans rather than with each other, there's something wrong. So this could be one of his main agenda. And I think at one time President Kenyatta had suggested, can we have reciprocity in visa accommodation? As long as you have valid documents from a particular African country, come to Kenya. There was and then there were no takers, which then means that a lot of education needs to be put in various African countries as to why it is necessary. Instead of talking Addis Ababa, they should implement some of these things they talk about. And one of those things is free movement of people and goods as a way of encouraging trade, in intercontinental trade, but not waiting for some other thing. So he has a lot of things on his way. The restructuring of the AU is very clear. The security docket seems to be in a mess. We rely on some other people to pay for our security operations, which is wrong in itself. And we commend with ECOMOG in West Africa, the ECOWA, because it appeared to take the lead in the problem in Gambia. It was not the AU that took the lead. The AU should have been up front. In fact, lots of people are saying the AU now needs to learn lessons from ECOWAS. Yeah, but ECOWAS is part of the AU. It's one of the regional bodies. And we commend ECOWAS for showing leadership in that aspect. And not only leadership, but also coming out with a solution that ensured there will be no bloodshed. Because there are those people who may have wanted to see a little blood being spilled around. But the credit goes to those people that they ensured that there was no bloodshed. The fact that they might have promised Jama the safety and freedom from interference with his life, as long as he agrees to get out. And that commitment, if it was made, should be upheld at all times by all people. The scenario we saw some years ago, with commitment being given to Charles Taylor, and then being reneged on by the very people who said they would not do it, sent a very bad message, because it might make some other difficult situations hard to resolve or even settle. So in this sense, assuming that, and then Yahya Jammeh, wherever he went, he should also behave and obey the laws there. Otherwise, somebody will have good reason for fixing him.
Right.
But we hope that it doesn't come to that, because don't forget that Yahya Jammeh has about half of the population in Gambia on his side. And yes, he lost. And the good thing he did initially was to agree to step down. And he agreed, yeah, he lost, fair enough. Then somebody, and we need to find out who it is, convinced him to change his mind.
You know, there are
So
factions that say that he became a bit afraid looking back at his record and the human rights atrocities committed under his tenure, that could be a reason why
no, it's probably one of them,
power.
but it also shows the ineptitude of the winning side. There are some things you do not do or say in a time of tension. So you had some people, Adama Barrow's people, start saying, oh, you are going to lock him up.
Right, immediately.
You say, wait a minute, this is not intelligent. Because in a time of transition, the last thing you want is to create tension or chaos. So you assure people that nothing untoward will be done. And threatening a sitting head of state is really ridiculous in itself. I think this is something that people should, many people watching or wherever they are, should learn from Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela had learned from Jomo Kenyatta. You know?
Did he? Really?
Yes, he did. And he will tell you that, yes, he did. He learned from Jomo Kenyatta. You weigh the situation. You see, I think he spent a lot of time reflecting. What does he do? The last thing you want in this period of transition in which the country becomes chaotic instead of moving forward. And yes, you may have a lot of bitterness. But that bitterness can undo everything that you have achieved within a short time. Let me give an example, which maybe some people may not be very amused with. Patrice Lumumba, a very well-meaning man, a serious nationalist, but very poorly schooled in international affairs. So on the day of the the independence, he regretted it afterwards. But he made statements that were very annoying to the departing Belgians. And the next thing we saw is that they started mobilizing forces to get rid of him. And within 2 months, they had got rid of him. So later on, he was, did he do the right thing? So that's what I'm saying, that in terms of transition, the people taking power need to be very careful the message they send out. Because you send out the wrong message, it can mean chaos. And unfortunately for Adama Barrow, some of his people sent out the wrong message. And we could see what was now happening after that.
Yeah. All right. So ECOWAS, of course, being given a lot of thumbs up for that. But let's focus on Africa's Agenda 2063 and, you know, whether the AU is the rightly placed body to achieve this. Because this same body, since its inception, when it was OAU, has been characterized by poor implementation of frameworks such as this 2063 agenda. In terms of implementation, do you think AU is on the right track?
It has the right dream. And it's always good to dream. Then after dreaming is to look into whether the AU as an organization has the capacity to deliver. The capacity to deliver is both intellectual and material.
Right.
It seemingly does not have the material capacity. It does not have the institutional capacity. There may be some intellectual capacity, but it is inadequate. So we have this general problem of the AU, having good dreams, but delivery becomes a problem. Take, for instance, some of the personnel, the bureaucrats at the AU, who are supposed to implement the dream. And it appears that some of them may not believe in the dream. Yeah, they are the ones to do what?
Right. Implement the dream.
You can see there is a contradiction already.
Yes.
We are going to be self-reliant. It's a good dream.